Most people are not taking caffeine properly, including myself. Now, I have 2 tips for you that when you follow them, it could be life-changing as far as how the caffeine acts in your system and how it makes you feel. Now, caffeine, I think as most people know, is essentially pulling adrenaline from your adrenal glands, and that acts on your sympathetic nervous system. That gives you that alert, awake feeling in the mornings when you take it, right? That feels good. Now, that feel-good feeling is not necessarily dopamine increasing, because it doesn't increase the dopamine. What it does is it increases the receptor sensitivity to that dopamine. So what dopamine is in your system, you know, it's just going to feel like it's better. So if you're someone that took a drug of some kind that increased your dopamine and then you took caffeine, it's just going to make that drug work even more as far as how that feel good feeling from the drug, right? Now, the first problem is essentially why you should not take caffeine as soon as you wake up in the morning. So there's something called adenosine that's released when you sleep. It only happens when you sleep, helps you chill out, stay asleep, all that stuff. Now, when you wake up in the mornings, there's still adenosine in your system, just a little floating around, right? Now, caffeine attaches to the same receptors as that adenosine. So if you drink coffee first thing in the morning, what could happen is you have the receptor, right? And then you have the caffeine and this adenosine. Now, if the caffeine attaches to that receptor, that adenosine is still floating around in your system. And it makes you sleepy, but it's not making you sleepy because it can't get to the receptor. Now, just think about this. After the caffeine has worn off, let's say noon, then that adenosine comes back to that receptor. And what does it do? It makes you sleepy. It makes you sleepy whenever that caffeine wears off. So that is the first problem. Now, obviously, to get around this, you need to wake up and get going and wait, you know, at least, I don't know, 1.5 hours, maybe 2, until all of that is, you know, out of your system, that adenosine. You should start to feel more awake once you get going, whether it's at the gym or start driving your car and get to work, whatever it is. Then you can take your caffeine. Then that should sort of negate that 2 p.m. sort of crash that you get. A lot of people have, all right? So that is the first tip. Wait before you take your caffeine, okay? And that's gonna avoid that afternoon crash. So here's another quick little pro tip in the middle. Knowing this, a lot of people like myself, as soon as I wake up, if I know I have fasted cardio, I wanna get caffeine in immediately. Now, what happens a lot of time with people that do fasted cardio, they take the caffeine, they do their cardio, then later on in the day, they get that crash. So to get around that, it's the same thing that I said before. Get into your fasted cardio. Wait 15 or 20 minutes, get that alert wake feeling that you have, and then start maybe chugging that caffeine while you're doing the cardio. Like, you can do it. It's not gonna make you throw up or something. I think you can handle that. So if you do that, it should get you around the fact that the caffeine could mess you up later in the day, okay? So that's just a pro tip. You can try it, and if it doesn't work, just, you know, don't do it. Now, next thing about caffeine that's big. So it lowers electrolytes, and obviously you need those when you work out. So, you know, through the day, before you have caffeine, whether it's in the morning or your pre-workout in the evening, you need to manage your electrolytes, and, you know, not just drinking enough water to stay hydrated, but you also need to have maybe some sort of electrolyte rich drink. It's got sodium, potassium, just a little bit, you know, even if it's like a diet Gatorade type of deal. Now, in terms of working out, you obviously need to think about sodium in the first place anyway, with your pre-workout meal. And the thing with caffeine is you might feel it quickly, but it peaks at like 60 to 90 minutes, okay? So that 60 to 90 minutes for it to peak, this is where people mess up the most, okay? I see this all the time, and it's always annoyed me because I've known this about it peaking, and it just doesn't make any sense. And that's people that drink energy drinks or pre-workouts, like literally as they're walking into the gym, or like as they're literally starting their first set. That makes no sense, because the caffeine's gonna peak like when you're walking out of the gym. So when you walk out of the gym, it's like you're still riding that caffeine high. You absolutely do not want that, okay? So you have your sympathetic nervous system that I mentioned, and then your parasympathetic nervous system. It's, a lot of people say it's like a seesaw, which is exactly right. You don't want to fully go one way or the other. You want to use it when you're supposed to use it. When you leave the gym, we want to be using our parasympathetic nervous system, which is to chill out. You have to. This is super, super important for people that go to the gym. So several big reasons why this is important. One, it's for recovery. It's going to help you recover way quicker. The quicker you can get your heart rate down and chill out after the gym. One, it's protective for your heart. I mean, when you reduce stress on your heart, that's something you should do as soon as you get out of the gym. And then the big one is it's going to get your sleep on track. You don't want to take your caffeine as you're working out, get home, and then that caffeine's still in your system and you can't chill out, you can't go to sleep. I mean, that happens to people all the time. They just act like that's not the issue. How many times do you hear guys say, man, I can't sleep good at night, but you know, I don't think it's the pre-workout because I take it before the gym. Well, you take it at like 5:30 in the middle of your first set and it's still in your system afterwards and you don't have time to chill out. So you have to take that into consideration, okay? Those two tips. The big thing is timing of your caffeine. Think about the timing. Think about that 60 to 90 minute peak, okay? Use that to your advantage. That's the biggest tip. And the second one, do not take caffeine soon as you wake up in the morning because you're basically guaranteeing yourself that you're going to have that afternoon crash. And nobody wants that afternoon crash, especially if you're someone that goes to the gym because you're drinking that caffeine, you feel good, you get the afternoon crash, and then you're ready to get that energy drink and get home and put that down so you can go to the gym. You're just setting yourself up for failure. And by that time, you're not sleeping good and everything's off track. So if you can just fix all this stuff for a couple of days, it's going to make a huge difference. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want more like this, leave a comment below. Thanks.